Snake on the beat.
The Babbling Heads podcast.
Babbling Heads.
Yo, what's up? This is the Base 187 and welcome to the Babbling Heads podcast.
I'm Dj Fingaz.
Charlie Ecstasy.
And today in the studio I have none other than one of our mentors, the great illustrious, record-breaking, record-winning, globally awarded activist, MC, popper, b-boy, graffiti writer, author. What more can I say? Changemaker.
Nou kan ik maar gaan.
Go for it. Emile YX, welcome to the podcast.
Ja, dank je.
Welcome. Thanks for doing this, man.
No problem. I was watching from afar, but I was like, yo, lekkertjes.
Je is nogal blij als het eerste iemand ook gekregen, nou als je net terug is in Kapen.
Nee, kijk, ik zie was nou de dag als ik zit een post op en zeg, why isn't any of the podcasts like, ja, dat man, is een at our disposal in ons doen aan niks.
Check here, so it's customary for guests, als hulle de eerste keer op je podcast komen, dat hulle net een brief history geven. It doesn't have to be brief.
Kijk, die man niet een brief history net. Ze moet zeggen, discography, CV zien.
No, go as deep as I know it's been well documented, but let's just go through it and misschien trigger het vraag of twee wat ons wil misschien later ook wel vragen.
So, what do you want to know about the hip-hop background?
Your first thought. Do you remember being conceived?
Swimming with my fellow brothers.
Kijk die way. Ik was in. I mean, basically, I grew up here in Grassy Park. And my bro went to the club primary at what's it, Fairview?
Fairview,
Primary. They made their name more posh. The club didn't sound so rich. And then, like, hip-hop came into a man's life only when, I'd say when the man was dancing like Michael Jackson. Because he was copying the stuff from the streets here in the US anyway, you know what I mean? So, and then we formed I was dancing with a group of lighties that I was, just in the neighborhood. And then Bra came here from, where did he come from? From Canada. Yeah, Ian. And Ian Lawrence. And so he was like, nah, let's go jam on the streets. And I like, okay, cool. We go jam there by Dolly's Motors in front of, just at the bus stops. And so Owens from I was in high school that time. So Brassa from St. Owens, Tani saw me, Timmy. And she is telling him, there's Owens breakdancing on the street because they were breaking. I didn't know they were breaking. We were in the same class. I had no idea. So he stick out and I was like, yay. It's you, man, bro. You didn't always so quiet. I didn't even know you were doing this. So we hooked up and we formed that same weekend Pop Glide Crew. Because again, the name explains we weren't really going to the floor much. We were just like popping and gliding. So that's where the name came from. And then by the end of that year was the first time when we saw like heavy breaking in like music videos and stuff. And but most means that don't realize that all the Owens back in the day they grand the African American coolness, man. Like that's really why the Owens did it. They were like, nah, I want to be like the cool Americans type of vibe, and so it took a long time for us to realize this is who we are, like fundamentally who we are. It took a moerse long time actually to get to that point.
Yeah, it's ek en hy het gepraat van it's not that even America, it's not that they found something new, it's just they remembered.
Yeah.
That was in the DNA type of thing.
Exactly.
And it's no difference for you guys that did it here.
Yeah. It's when you saw it, like the thing is your present memory only understands what's here now. But your underlying that historic memory, that memory that make us say and her automatically. Like nobody told us to do that, we just naturally did it. So it's part of who we've always been. So when a man went into the circle, you're like, this strangely familiar, but it's just cool as lekker being in the circle. Even though you were like, I was heavy shy, remember, to like, bro, so I practiced extra hard and only did what I prepared, man. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, to get to a point where you freestyle, you have to be comfortable, man. So the more you prepare, the easier it is to be freestyling in the circle,
To lose yourself,
Yeah, exactly. So means all of those things I didn't initially were just this is quiet. And like wherever you got opportunity, you took it because it was so rare, man, bro. Like to get to a point where you can actually, you make your own circle outside because the clubs don't let you in at that point yet, Because it was still early days. It was before like people became aware of breaking, Mesa was still doing Michael Jackson competitions. Like, what maak julle? D and Rizano tell that story also. And Jammer was actually in the crowd there at Town Center when the two of them came to a Michael Jackson competition, and they were popping D and Rizano. And the man's like, huh? What die manne, my bro? And even like Jammer was saying like it was way ahead of its time. So this was a similar situation with the Owens over here, and like the older Owens that was with me, Edmund, he'd already battled with Owens from Ballistic. What are they called? They were called Hot Rod. Before they were Hot Rod, they were called Backstreet Breakers. So those are some of the older Owens that were actually doing it, but like very quietly, man. And the most of the people didn't know about breaking, man. Like now people speak about hip hop as if everybody, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But back then it's like, huh? Why are you doing that? And also here you're wearing tackies and like you're dressing. Everybody was still in there, like, the Nevadas and the Pringles and the button-up shirts, and it was very like ouchie vibe. And here you come with your tackies and your tracksuit and
Pony and what.
So it was heavy before its time that generation was involved. Even when we went to teasers in town, like it was still, it was people weren't ready for what they were seeing, man. And it was like a handful of Owens from different parts of, like Owens from Ocean View, or Pro Lights Owens, and there's Owens from Athlone Cutonians, and so it was a mense, but like at Eastman, when you're in that circle, you think it's everything, bro. You're like, nah, that's your whole world,
Okay.
In the meantime, it's like it's just a paar means, and in relation to the country, it's even less. You know what I mean? And for a long time, it was like that. And we didn't, like, you don't realize it until you actually engage with public people outside of the hip hop community, outside of the b-boying community, which took a long time to get to, but so that was the first like wave of Owens. And then when the movies came, so we were lucky, we were ahead of those Owens already, because they were now copying like Beat Street, I think.
Yeah.
But first Flashdance, then Beat Street, I think, and then Breaking. And then they had a rerun of those movies again afterwards at the Lux. And what's her name was always late. I don't know why Eldorado was always late. They were playing Kung Fu stukken too much.
That was a shit.
It was the market.
No, that's what I'm saying. It brought men. So they were like, nah, what the breakdancing was deep. I remember that braai at Eldorado with a sweep. You remember that braai? Meet the meats with a sweep in the line.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that's the early days before, and MCing only really took off like maybe like in like 87, 88. And the first Owens I actually saw grab the mic, and then they were doing, I'm not sure they were doing their own rhymes, was like Caramel and Jilly D with this Bravim that they were in Jamrock together.
Yeah.
So that was actually at teasers that they were rapping. I was like, yo, Owens, local Owens, because it wasn't you. The thing about breakers, they're not comfortable speaking in public, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those two Owens are like, yo, they're rapping, man.
But how did you guys put it together? Was it the movies that put the two disciplines together, or did it with like? How did you know that is daar enige way wat hulle geweet het?
No, it's straight on the movies, like because
okay, that was the connection.
you saw the stuff and even at one stage Ian wrote to me. But he did like graph in the letter he sent me. I still got the letter that he wrote back then. Like, he need like little characters he drew. I had to do the moves and what. Because we didn't have access to the stuff, man. Like, I was like, I wrote back to him and like, remember this the explanation of this is a bit cheap. Now, men who like watch videos or like watch YouTube, they will understand this history of like you have to wait like three weeks to like maybe 6 weeks for your letter to come back for someone to answer that question, And so like this is how the early Owens learned. And when we saw the graph, we were like, yo, okay. And then so it was like, almost like affirmed, this is all part of the culture, the rappers, the DJs. And so because you fell in love with all of it, and this is the thing, once you watch the video, you then look at the background, like now you look, and you're listening to the lyrics of the song, you listen to the beat, You know, the more you watch it, the more you learn the different elements of the culture. Man. I remember Owens actually, like myself included, like actually pressing pause when it goes past the beginning of Wild Style.
Yeah.
And like to freeze it and then trace the graph to get the letters. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because there's no other way to access, unless like with what's his name, Jamo, they wrote to Martha Cooper, who did Spreek and Out. And so that's like Baby D, that's how he got his contacts through Jamo, and Jamo was able to get them to, and through Zulu Nation was. And so that's our first piece. I remember the piece under the bridge in Mitchell's Plain, town center. That's Baby. So Owens were learning from what they were seeing and like just trying out, like trying to element. Like for us, the footwork we called for Russians because it must look like the Russian scenes, the Russian dance.
That's all, yeah.
So and a lot of stuff was like that, like the fly windmill. Like the Owens used to call it balls because we didn't know what the name was. And I mean, to a certain extent, for me, that's cool that you come up with your own thing because of the environment that you learned from it. And so when people now tell me, nah, give it the right name, I'm like, nah, well, that was that hop turtle, like they call it jackhammers. But we didn't know that's the name of the thing. So we just called it whatever it looked like, Sensei. And so that's, for me, that's, when we teach, we should be teaching our history, like how we learned over here. So that people, so you carry that information of like how difficult it was to access. You know, and I'll give you another example quickly. What's the name of who lived down the road here? Taro and Waro. I think they call Marley. They like, my bro. Dinges got duidelijke graffiti by his joint, my bro. Goga. Like, yeah, my bro. We're gonna kyk, you don't must have money. We're gonna hike to Mitchell's Plain, my bro, from here, 5th Avenue down all the way to hike cross that way to where they must in is it Eastridge that they live in? 12 Tafelsig area. Eastridge, that side. Manspad, my bro, we get there like 3-4 hours later. We come into the room, no, is a vrag Owens, my bro, sitting around the small table in the middle. The sticky graffiti is just so, my bro. But you like, you know, like you like taking mental pictures of this thing because you can't, there's no photocopy, there's no like none of these things that exist now. Man.
Yeah.
So like, but you can understand why everybody, like the passion is here, man. Owens will make that effort to come and like whatever information they can find. Like you'd find Owens there, Ragtime Records in town.
Yeah.
Like studying the cover of like the vinyl, man, bro, the back. They're not DJs.
Yeah.
But because someone told them, nah, there's graffiti on the back of the vinyl at Ragtime, they lamming them, man, bro. Yo. It's like, well, I would just, they don't have the money to buy the vinyl, but nah, I want to learn to do this. And even like taking out the sleeves of the album cover to like read the liner notes and it's heavy, man. Like it's, the hunger was heavy compared to like now how easy it is to access.
Yeah, information's at your fingertips now.
Yeah, for real. So anyway, so I mean, then it moved to town to teasers. Like a lot of the jam. The first time, I must say this was the first competition that we took part in. We met the other ones, like all the other breakers from like around the way. Because it was, and back then, 1,500 was a vrag money.
Oh,
yeah, bro. Hulle gee nou nog geen geld, by the way. They gave us, I think, the 500 voucher. And the rest, it's just...
Back in kind.
Yeah. But it was at the Route 66 in town center. So D them was there. They were still called, I think they were called City Kids. And Hot Rods were there. And then us, Popglad, and then like a other like smaller crews. I still have like footage of like this bra that owned the club. His son gave me the footage years later. We were whack. But anyway, we were all whack. we thought we were on point, but nah, we weren't we weren't on point. But so from that club and that connection, the owners used to go to teasers, and then from teasers they used to go to the base. I mean, after teasers closed down, then the base became the club. So that for me is like the history, and also obviously Body Rock Park in Crawford area, So those that's sort of the trajectory. And the own started rapping around, like I say, like 87, 88. And like handful owns, because most of the owns went into like and the owns who rap all had that like twang. That you to try to unlearn as you get, because that's what they want, right? They want to, and that's what you were listening to, man. So when Owens like this, the lighties nowadays, I'm like, yeah, this is what they're listening to, and unfortunately, sometimes radio also encourage that they sound like that, more than sounding like themselves, So anyway, so that's sort of the history of it, and pop. That was popular, and Black Noise started around, beginning like around March 1988, as the Chill Convention. Patty's a name. Chill Convention.
It happened in the first recording was in Musenberg.
They went down to. I wasn't interested actually in, because it was very breakerig. Like rap was very me. I was like, smart guy in is right. And then I got involved because I was like, I saw the potential of what it could do, man. And also it was like, we wanted to still get the b-boying people to see the culture. So I'd tag along. And that first meeting I was at, when they came up with that gedachte of the name, I wasn't actually even there. It was Wado, Taro, and Patty, and what's his name? Mike Hatting. And Mike Hatting, actually the white boy suggested the name Black Noise. Yeah. And when they split, when Patty wanted to go solo, wanted to do with so Wado them insisted on holding on to the name. But by that time I already was making button badges and marketing on boards and posters, man.
You were invested.
Yeah, so I was like, and I wasn't really invested. I was like, just if you not really want to roll over this, then okay, let's let's create something other than what exists, and the for me, the core of Black Noise actually wasn't formed then. It was still trying to find its identity, man. And then when I called on Mikey and Edmund, the pop glider ones, and we had a meeting here near the Madhouse where what's her name, Edmund's grandmother lives. A whole day, man, bro, of just dreaming, everything that is now. We sat that whole day just dreaming about what if we go on stage with this famous Owens, and how are we going to pull it off, and what will we rap about, and how can we be different from who is there, and we come from b-boy background. How can we combine b-boying and should we be commercial? Should we is the intention to make money, or is the intention to be like the other MCs on the scene who are very wanting to be hardcore and stuff. So it was interesting, a long, interesting conversation. And for me, that's really where Black Noise was formed, because then we had a vision of what we wanted to create, it was, Timmy, may his soul rest in peace, but was a heavy, business-minded, bruh. Yisuma said, I remember him asking, do you want to make money from this? And survive, or is this a hobby? I was like, I'll never forget that question, because it's a profound question that you must answer and answer honestly, man. And I feel a lot of these who rap nowadays are not honest about their answer. Because if it's a hobby, then you can khatang and wake up whenever you want to, and and this was part of the conversation that we had that day. He was like, if you're gonna do this as a job, then you're gonna put in more hours than what actually he said the same amount of time, but you want success, you need to put in more hours to make a success of it. So for me, that's really where the name took its form, and also the whole thing of black consciousness, and that really only came afterwards, But we knew that we wanted to create something different, and from what they were saying is that the sound didn't exist. It was to create something that didn't exist. The Black Noise was the sound, was collective of all of the ideas and all of the colors to make this original gedachte, Anyway, so that's how Black Noise came about. Yeah.
I want to ask you this. Couple of years ago, I was signed to SABC, right? I didn't know. I knew what I was signing, but after a while, it started getting claustrophobic, man, because do not bring the SABC and distribute was like crap. But it started working on me, man, because I felt muzzled, man.
Yeah.
En ik het geresearched in mijn mind en waarvan het komt dat, man. En het komt van early hip-hop, wat basically said what it meant, man. And I couldn't do it because I signed something now, man. And then the nice part when we could do podcast, like I was slipping in stuff that I could say, man. You know what I'm saying? Just to feel I'm still, I haven't lost myself. Now you were one of the wat ek nog gemeet het back in the day. Wat het gesê het, wat hulle wel gesê het. Tot vandag toe doen ze dit without apologizing, unapologetic. First and foremost, where did that attitude come from? If you can call it the attitude or that mind state come from? And why is it so important to have that in your mind? And zet jezelf het clear gemaakt wat ze like van hip-hop tijd en die. And I want to know how it's changed for you.
Yeah.
In the good way and in the bad way.
Yeah. I think
there's two questions.
Let me deal with the industry part of it. Right? We knew what we wanted to do, but we asked questions. So I had asked Shaheen, I asked D, I asked Steve Gordon from Making Music Production, I asked Christopher Fries, I asked Christian Siren. Basically anyone that was signed, I asked like, okay, what's it really like? All of them were like, okay, don't give up your day job, man, bro. This isn't what it appears to be, you know. So I came back, I told the other ones this exact same thing. And they were all, yeah, but if we never do it, we'll spend the rest of our lives wondering what it would be like. So I said, okay, cool. So they said, we're giving it 2 years, 3 years max. Like we put our effort in, and they were heavy, man, bro. Michael was at with Sav Marine, and he was like, yo, I'm jumping ship for you. I'm going to come back and I'm going to focus on this. Marley was studying engineering. He was like, okay, I'm also going to just pack us up and I'll, come full time. Edmund was studying business, BCom at UCT. He was like, nah, man, bro, Owens, I can't. So he continued doing that. But it was like, in my case, I was like, yeah, I'm Owens, bro, because, my mom's a teacher. And so, in my case, I was able to get away, until a point where they were like, okay, we're all in this boat. And I'll never forget this conversation. We're all in this boat, man, bro. You're the only one in this boat with a life jacket, man. Bro. You better take that jacket off or spot. Michael, I remember, but that was the ultimatum. I was like, all right, I guess then I was throwing this life jacket off with the rest of your owns, man, bro. And it's a hell of a leap of faith to take, man. I think a lot of owns aren't willing to take that leap of faith because it also it forces you to be confronted with, are you telling the truth or are you just lying to yourself about like how much effort you're going to put in? You check? And so when we did that, it's like all in, like 24/7. There wasn't like, there's no cut-off time. There's like rehearsal till we say that's enough. And we ran drills, bro, heavy drills. I'm just not gesweet because it's not just we're rhyming. We also dancing and we like a whole production basically, And so, like once we had the show together, now Mike and myself, also these guys, we rehearsed to each other. We're gonna phone up like clubs in town, bro. So we phoned the clubs and like, we got this performance. Can we come and show you? And then if you like it, you can put us on. So we go there. We do like maybe 2 songs. Kiki, we're not even through the first song. The club owners like, nah, Kiki, we definitely want to hire you guys because this is like tight. They didn't expect that we were gonna have a tight performance together like that, and like it's our own music. They were like, yo, this is your own music, because so they could see the potential, man. So the first show we do is a massive success, and in the crowd also is the this management Triple M of Martin Myers. He was part of. He was like, yo, we wanna sign you to management, and then we'll get you like all of the. So he get us gigs with. Initially it was like small stuff, man, like doing a mall, doing like a carnival, doing but it was liquor audiences. It was audiences that we wouldn't normally get. It's like you in the city center, is completely different people. So you also, as like, I think DJs probably can understand this the best. Like you read the crowd, man. Like you're not going to just play like whatever. You're going to like, yeah, this crowd will probably like this music. So your selection is also, and the way you interact, you're not going to come raw. You're coming to this. You winning over every show. You're winning over new supporters. Yeah, that's really your thinking, right? Because this is your livelihood. This isn't just like, nah, kyk, you're because type of vibe. Now you presenting something so you can build this following. And so, like that's, I think the early, because also Edmund was also still involved by back then. So that business lessons the Owens would bring, man, and share with each other and say, if you want to, So it was a very mature, like gedachte, because it was about how do you pay bills, how do you survive, And so once we signed the deal, to come to what you were saying, is we understood what the industry, because we asked enough questions, so we understood what game the industry plays, right? And then we said, okay, let's play the game. We'll sign eventually got a deal with Tusk, One World Entertainment, and then put out an album. And then all of the stuff that Shaheen and D spoke about start like becoming reality. I mean, yes, people all grand it and people love like and then they insist like you can't use the sample. Like we had a dope like cover sample. I think it was Chic. Like, these are the breaks type of vibe. Not Chic, what's his name? Curtis Blow. These are the breaks. That riff we were going to use for Good Times actually. My bro, a heavy roll. They don't want to pay for this. But we knew that would break. Because everybody in the Cape Flats
knew that.
and on the country knew that sample. And they were just not willing to pay for it. So they already, as things start to unravel. And they when we recorded, they only brought the MCs, like myself and Marley and Watto. So the older Owens, like Edmund, them went, Mikey, them, they went in the studio because they were really like the ones that were like, because they wanted to insist. When we came back, they were like, bro, where's this don't sound like the song that we put forward to them. So in the beginning already, we were like this disillusionment with industry. And then there was a wait of almost a year before they released the album. So by the time the album hits, like the scene has already moved on. The scene is already like almost public enemy era, And so you're like a bit late musically, So all of these things that you like learn from like being around these men, and you realize like, check, this is a business. They don't care about your skill. They don't care about anything else by making money. That's what it's about, right? And so when a man learned that, I also learned like, how do you create something yourself, man? So during that period, they put together the Juice magazine, start writing to men all over the place, like, Word Up magazine, what's it, Black Beat, and all those American magazines that had pictures of Black Noise in it, I mean, a lot of people, because by that time we'd already like sort of gone out of favor with the label because we were disillusioned by what they could do, And they wouldn't give us stock. That really bothered me. Like I would say, Chicky, why didn't you give us like 1,000 cassettes and CDs, and we just sell it on the road? Because men were asking us. I was like, yo, and then like we'll score, man. But they wouldn't give it unless you paid like in bulk, man. I mean,
buying your own product.
Yeah, and like we were like, nah, Kiki, man, because the man's scuttling basically. The entire country is seeing you like looking smooth on a music video and like, look at the goodness here, and can't you in a Foxy bus that's barely making it through the country. That's the reality. Sleeping in like bug-infested hotel rooms and what, And like really just like, I mean, I don't think a lot of artists really do that anymore, but like you physically touring from town to town and performing at clubs, and like going on at like 3 in the morning and like doing 2 sets of hour each. Because that's what they used to, man. They used to bands. So you come and you're like, yeah, man, bro, this is a long time to be on stage. Plus you're breaking also at that time of the morning. But like because you're professional, you kick ass no matter what, right? But then the outcome, the economic outcome didn't
equate to the effort.
So the ones all like start becoming like, nah, man, why are we doing this, And then I remember like maybe, I think it was 93. End of 92, 93. I remember clearly we were on a tour we were in Durban, and everybody just had enough. They all disappeared to their own, like, I went to walk on the beach. I don't know, Molly had some back injury. He went upstairs, and everybody was carrying the, sound now is not like sound then.
Yeah, amps and kutas.
And you're carrying that, and not only that, but you're also driving yourself. You're also like finding, like, I mean, here you are in Durban, and like you barely have money to buy supper, and I remember going on to the beach, and I'm walking on the beach. bump into Ismail and what's his name, Junior Dread of POC. And they're like, hey, bro, what do you? They're like, all like, they chilling because they're doing that. They're touring, right? My bro, he said, come back with me, man. I come into the room. D's in the corner, Javid D. In his own world, just like, Shaheen is like, also, my bro, quickly, still busy. They're in their trade, most man. And that stood out for me heavy about them. Like, the focus.
You still like it?
I know. So anyway, I'm in the room and I look around and I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, my bro, man. You know what I mean? Like that. Being tied to a label who don't really like, and if I compare their room, because alle Kentucky en wat gaat en wat and there's a duidelike hotel. I get back to the place we were staying at, was like a bed and breakfast, and I was like, Owen, so what do you feel like? Because this is not. And I remember Mikey saying, Kiki, we spot. That's it. We drive home right now. Because we couldn't get in touch with the management either. They're like, yo, we at. That's it. And that was the final straw. Like, we still had to go back to Joburg, but that was like, we can't, Kiki, this is an illusion, my bro.
So you stopped because of Kentucky, is it?
Yeah. and years later, we were sponsored by them with the tour. Yeah. So, but it's also I think the realization that you're not, like, you don't have, like, the label don't have your back, and like your management isn't there. I mean, no diss to Chris, but Chris he was on point, but not what we were expecting, man. We were expecting much more, and also I felt like our crew was easier to sell because there was nothing really political about what we were saying. At the time when like politics was becoming the thing. And I'm telling you, my bro, like when we performing it, like we perform at in Joburg, my bro, it was the crossover audience that would stick out. Was like because we were on the road, we could see the potential, but because like management or whoever wasn't, and like the label wasn't there, they couldn't deliver what we were seeing, man. Which is like, it's one of the saddest things, and that wasn't the last time I saw that. Yeah. But like, it's just
didn't capitalize on it.
Yeah, like you think you're like, yeah, my bro, if they had T-shirts here, like I was printing up posters. I was printing up black and white posters, so my topies work. Council illegal council printing.
So precise.
You know what I mean? And like when we hit the road, gone, and men were willing to pay for those posters. And this is the time before people were like really,
the merch.
Yeah, into merchandise. And so like I was like constantly like, yeah, my bro, this means it's just always behind. They're just not getting. I mean, even when Black Noise got Adidas to make posters, they were still like way behind the thinking on the possibilities of what could happen. I mean, I see now that like some Owens are getting deals where there's connection, but it's just they don't take advantage, full advantage of really capitalizing on all the possibilities. You know what I mean? And so from then I was like, nah. And then also I was like, the letters I was getting was all this black consciousness stuff. I was like, my bro, it's immense. And you could see how the percentages, because these people were sending me like books on how the percentages break down, and the deal that we signed, like, because I mean, we were studying at university and at college, so we could read, and we were like reading, we're like, this is a whack deal, my bro. The percentage that you get, from each CD is minimal, So it's like, we could do this ourselves, and so when we walked away, like Mikey them and those were like, nah, I can't keep the state. Look, they're gonna do like 9 to 5, because they were at the point where they needed to like either get married or life was there, And so they were like, yeah, okay, we're gonna spot. We just was Eastman was heartbreaking when you like a crew and then the Owens that was there with you like saying, nah, it's. And I mean, it's not the first. A lot of that happened afterwards, but the first time it happens always the hardest because you're like, shut up, man, bro.
The first heartbreak, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then also like once I was reading all of that black consciousness information, I started like, you start seeing like the white supremacy within the music industry. Yeah. You start seeing like how they use radio and how they create an idea of who you are. And they ask questions that are like race-based. Like they'll ask you about gangsterism just because you're from Cape Town. You're like, but why are you asking that question? Say, this is what we know about Cape Town, but that's not who we are. And like we get heartful and upset with like the press. And then they print the article like, you like prima donnas because you you don't like some of the questions they ask. And you're like, you know what I mean? So because they had, I mean, you think about the power of the media now versus the power of the media then
Was much greater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So it's that really, like the reading of all this black consciousness information and the internalization, because there was vraag ouens reading that. You know, we share it with people, but the internalization of it is what caused the man to be like, okay, I'm speaking my mind, I don't care. And because we played the game, man, and we saw what the outcome is. You know what I mean? So a lot of us saying like, why don't you just, yeah, me bro, just bite the bullet and bite, koop gefriet where you need to and get through, you know. But that's only for a few, man. Like there's only a few artists that get to benefit from that. I mean, you can see that, like globally. You're in South Africa as well, you know. There's and a lot of those artists already have a support base. You know, I mean, if you think Emo Adams, Lukman, the Muslim community support, you know, straight up. So, you know, and if you're not from that community, then they're not necessarily going to support you, you know. So that's like, and just me think about Barakat, think about who's in there, think about, what's the other one before Barakat? Material. You know, it's like it's a story told, but it's told because the economics is in that community.
Yeah.
So I'll address this movie and I'll put it to a community where I know I can get them to support and buy into it. You know, so it's like if you like a Christian lighty from it's much harder because that community
Case
isn't
in point, Macy Funny Labus, we had Mark Matros over here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he got it to screen, he got it, I think it was at the new Metro Cinema. But I mean, the juxtaposition, he did that a couple of, I think he probably did it the same time they were filming, because I know Morty filmed that after he got shot in Joburg. And then he came down to Cape Town like a month after recovering from still with the bullet wound. And he did Barakat. But yeah, that's the thing, is like the juxtaposition is like the Christian movie, the one addressing the Christian market and the one addressing the Muslim community. It's like the economics is there.
Yeah.
But like, coming back to your point, it's like from quitting your career as a teacher and then starting off with Black Noise Under the Deal, I think one thing became apparently clear, and it's something that you've been preaching, I won't say preaching, but like you've been giving out this information a lot.
Preaching, it's okay.
A lot freely throughout the tours, and that's the mathematics of survival. So how did you come about that?
The idea of like, I need to, my tiny, my tiny was like, Jay Blaney, you need to betaal. I can't even need to Blaney, you know? And like, she was adamant. She was like, if you walk away from your job, you're going to pay, say. And like, initially the scuttle was heavy, man, bro. I was like, yo, man, I'm going to make this. And I just left like short while before that. When like that old story I told about the boat with that was like towards just the end of, just before we started touring. So I was like doing the half in, half out, like skipping school sometimes to be at shows. But like, she saw that coming, man. And when she, like, you know, my parents are like to the point, you know. And she was like, you're paying rent here. And so I was like initially selling bottles and like collecting people's newspapers. And there was a scrapyard, I don't know if you remember here, just over from where Woolworths is now, there on Prince George Drive. Over the road, there was that place where you could go take your like metal, scrap metal. Yeah. I used to go there with my Tany's Beetle chair. I didn't have a car even really then. You know, I remember playing for Mr. Caswell in order to get a car. Like if I played for his club, he organized a Beetle for me. So I played soccer to cover that that cost, you know. So there's a lot of like scuttling on a level, but having your eye on the prize, man. Like how do you? And then once you do that scuttling, you realize, Kiki, there's multiple income streams. Because we thought, Kiki, if I do a 9 to 5, then that's going to pay. But in truth, if you do like a vrag, then it's easier to reach the amount you need, you check. So I was like, change bottles, change plastic, change metal, change, paper, do an occasional gig here and there, teach whatever light is breaking. So all of the possibilities of how you could earn an income also became apparent, like that mathematics of survival. You know, if I have, break it down this way, if I have 50 sources of income at 20,000 each, how much is that?
Nee, fuck man.
That's $1 million.
My mates.
That's $1 million. 50, and sometimes like we think massive, but like if I make a T-shirt, put it this way, I make a album, right? So I'm using the album cover as the album cover, as the T-shirt, as a button badge, as a, all these small things, like as a poster. All of those, you can duplicate it on so many platforms. And now you have all of these things that you can sell. And people will be like, oh, nah, quick for die, because you have a variety of things, there's possibilities for them to buy, they will, if they're really supporting you, they will do that. And so that for me was like the mathematics of survival. Like, how do I mathematically work it out? Because I needed to pay rent. And then when it became, how do I get the lighties to Battle of the Year? Same thing. Like, Good Hope Center cost so much, the sound cost so much, the flights cost so much, this is the amount I need to raise. How many people at 50 Rand will make that amount of money? And then our means are like, we leave you 50 here in Bonteheuwel, 50 with somebody in Stellenbosch, or 50 with someone in Kraaifontein. They sell the 50, and before you know it, you have the number that you wanted to reach, So it's like for me, that was like the mathematics of survival. And then implementing it when I tour, and when a month tour and they give you maybe a stipend or whatever. Why you want to be spending that money, my bro? Hulle gee dan over jou kos.
Yeah.
Nou gaat koop jy latest whatever. Koop jy by die huis? Ja, my bro. As fokol geld. So like I just kept all that, and I'm on Skarel, go to breakfast, pak ek in for lunch, supper.
I've learned that from you.
And then and again, it's like, I understand how that, you must understand, like, why am I doing this? It's to survive, and I don't want to do this the rest of my life so that I can just survive. I want to do it to a point where I don't have to, like, I have enough money and I can, like, decide if I want to or don't want to do something. So we often, like, we think, nah, I can always do this. But that's not how it works. Like, the industry doesn't work like, today you quiet, tomorrow they got somebody else that's quiet, So it's like that thinking, that mathematics of survival is born my Tani's gedachte of, like, jy betaal rent. And then for me to see that, like, how do you, I even sold, like, my bro, CDs that people sent to me, because I was running the Juice magazine as well. So when I ran the Juice magazine, people, like, send me CDs to review. I have CDs, my bro, and the men used to send like a single, but full cover and what from, like, American. I was like, my bro, kamers vol. Elke keer ek verkoop het, my bro. Because it adds to the pool of money that I needed to pay the rent. And then I started like give you another, like, tip for whoever's gonna watch this. Like, once I paid the rent for the first month, I was like, what if I just pay for a year? Then I have a pool of money that I know, like, is out of the way. Now I can, like, start working to, like, what can I use this money for? Like, how can I start making, like, small products so I can earn the next lot of income?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Same like what you said about this other podcast you have where, like, people want to give you goed. And so once people give you the stuff, you're like, wag 'n bietjie, ek moet nie alles die nodig hê, man. Ek moet die begin verkoop sien sy. And the same with, like, Puma and I went to the other ones in Black Noise's house, my bro, die hele kamer, sy vloer is vol, tekkies, brother, die kassa, as jy my plek in die kas vir die, ek sê, hoe kan julle nog altyd die, my bro, verkoop die goed? Emile, kyk hoe lyk jy. Ek waarin jy lyk, my bro, like, you know what I mean? For me, it's about, like, how do I survive? That's really why I'm doing this, to pay the bills and to survive. And I love what I do. But, like, I don't want it to be something that makes me feel bad about, like, this thing is just never making me. People complain about what they do. I don't want that to be the case. So I was like, I'll make the sacrifice. And people know that venture of mine, that blue venture. Daai was Adidas klere wat ek verkoop het, my bro. Yeah, net straight up. And after a while, people came to me. Like, yo, Emile, I just saw this thing in the shop. Can you get me, like, for discount? And then I spoke to Adidas, like, yo, can be a salesperson. I'd go into every Friday, I think it was, I used to go in, order what because people just take the order number, they give it to me, and I'm mark it up, like, slightly to make a cheap profit for yourself from it. Yeah, and it's also people that like, you don't want them to pay full, man. You know what I mean? It's like they mean so. So it's like is to constantly think outside the limitations of ek's net 'n rapper. Or I'm just a b-boy. It's like, how do you use that creativity to mathematics or survival?
Yeah, it's a major difference. Like, some of the dopest crews I've seen internationally at Battle of the Year, whereas a lot of the ones will just be lambing in the hotel. There's some crews that are literally out there hustling and basking and making a crown on the side. Because even though it's easier for them to travel within Europe, they are like full-time b-boys. They say, hulle skarrel move, hulle hard, they're hardcore.
They
They
made-
lose,
in their mind, you see, they made that choice.
Yeah.
That's the difference, I think, with a lot of the crews that like I see. You know, there isn't a choice in your mind that this is what I'm going to do 24/7. Like there's no excuses. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm putting everything into it. I'm the only one that's in charge of my destiny. You know, and so those Owens, like Storm and Swift included, like they went jamming in the streets there in Europe. They bought a Europass, and then they start traveling throughout Europe, just like they're just scuttling, like dancing at the next train station to make more money, to survive, to pay for, just keep going, you know. And that's when they went around Europe, that was them branding themselves physically. Like there's not like now we're online and I can sell this image of myself and you think, 1,000 people watched it. Nah, they just clicked away, you know what I mean? So it's like they're actually people in front of you. You're doing a show. I'm making eye contact. People are like, what's your name? Now we Battle Squad. That's how the name grew, me, bro. The whole world knows them, you know? So it's like that thinking, I think Owens over here still need to internalize. Like, I mean, what Barry does, the outdoor raw, is what b-boys used to do.
Yeah.
Like all the time. They used to go jam, street corner, put down a kepi, and pull in some cash. You know, and that's the thing about like coming from a b-boy background is know your worth. Like people, you know that if you're gonna do a power move, most of the people it's gonna be over their head.
Yeah, I should remember.
You know,
2018, we had the guys here from Reunion Island, and I took them to the waterfront, and they just wanted to get down and jam. So now they're jamming. Here we get waterfront security police coming in and us, hey, where's your busking license? And we're like, nah, we just was having fun.
yeah.
There's other group of African singers, they doing their thing. This lady comes over to me, she's like, we can go off.
Yeah,
Come dance with us and you get our
Yep.
license with it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you can capitalize on it like it.
So and what you're saying exactly there is not like we had a busking license as b-boys in Cape Town in the city. Like it was just to go and find out, man. And that's why I'm like so like sad about the thinking in Cape Town at the moment. Like everyone's waiting for like it's almost like Jesus' second coming. Like they're waiting for something to give them this opportunity. But nobody's going to give you. You have to like make that a reality, you know. And if you think of like the Owens doing like movies and adverts, you know, if they would just tell someone, check here, there's Claremont, there's Weinberg, there's Waterfront, there's the city center. How do I get the busking license to jam in each other's spaces? And it's not about now let's go practice. There's a difference between doing a busking show and practicing. The thinking needs to shift. I'm entertaining people. They're going to throw money for me. You understand? And this is about and again.
Polished already.
Yeah. So you're coming there. You're doing a set. Like I'm coming in. I'm doing my set. Thank you very much, ladies. And there's someone talking. It's like, hey, gentlemen, come closer. We're about to do a demonstration. Will last about 10 minutes. Now people already know. Okay, I can't stand for 10 minutes. You understand? Now instead of like, okay, we're going to be here for the next 5 hours. People don't, you know what I mean? People don't really connect like that. But if you're there for, and in that 5 hours, you could have done a frag shows with focus, you know, and going around to collect, like, check here, thank you very much, hand clap, please support, you know. And the same with, I mean, if you think about the MCs, like, how many preachers are there on trains?
A frag.
Why can't the MC just take a mic and go onto the train, my bro, and like
With
entertain
today's
mense?
technology,
Yeah, and then just have a kippie and tankie mense of a, you know, is your skill could equate to economics if your thinking changes in that way. You know what I mean? So anyway, mathematics also.
But that's also tied into to ego. And I think to a large extent, people would rather be up in your inbox asking you to help them out with food vouchers, etc. I didn't know me. But instead of then actually going out and graphing and hustling for it.
But you see,
not just waiting.
I think it's also that's sometimes all people know, man. Because they're not willing to ask questions to a bigger group of people. You know, like if they ask the question, someone could tell them, like, why don't you just go? Because if you think about graffiti or aerosol art, it's spread because of the train line.
Yeah.
Right? And thousands of people saw it on the train line, right? So it's like early days advertising, mobile advertising agency, right? So imagine you as an MC get to speak to the railway company, Prasa, whatever, and say, check here, all these lighties are unemployed. Can't we, get a license to go onto the train and entertain them? But we're going to do content that's going to be thought provoking. We're not going to be swearing. We're going to be, because I think that's also the thing, is understanding you're creating a market. You check, and like if you think about how many people on the train, or even on the train stations, like it's a huge amount of people. And if you're entertaining, they will stay around.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
if
now
you,
with COVID is the difference.
yeah, I get, but I mean,
But
all things change.
Check it. I'm lucky to be part of the Hollywood team for the year now. Give me like a history as where it started, the idea for it, and how it materialized, and what was your most positive thing that came from it, and as well something that you didn't know you were gonna learn or stuff like that.
Ja. Sê dat die multiple
Multi-pronged.
Because
Nee,
maak het ons antwoord meer.
Ja, nee.
I'm gonna get into your mind, man. You know what I'm saying?
you and what's his name? Zuckerberg.
Ek gebruik technology, ek het maar net aan my.
I'd say the first time we did a tour of libraries. Because remember I said earlier, like you living in a bubble because you're only connected to other hip hoppers, man. So you think everybody's doing this. Now, when the first time we went on a library tour, we just like they actually asked us to come and try and get lighties to read. So two things happened that day. I was like, there's nothing here that those lighties actually want to read, right? Secondly, because I'm writing this book called The Colored for Life, which is all like stories and what about our menses and about my experiences. And I hated reading. Like I couldn't stand in public and read. I used to sweat heavy, maybe like and like simple words like I couldn't even see me, but I was like, what is the word? Because I was so nervous, right? And so when I was in that space, it exposed that to me. I was like, this light is a year. Two reasons. One is that there's nothing else. It's winter in Cape Town, and there's nothing else for them to do in their neighborhood, so they're in the library causing drama. Right? So there's all the libraries have this workspace separately from the library where you can go, like Rossi Park also had. So I was like, okay, kan ek weer 'n paar break moves, because it was the easiest thing to show them. So now I show them some people, they're like, yo, dear, look me bro. Now I automatically say this is hip hop. Now the question follows, huh? What is hip hop, uncle? I say, and so in my mind I'm like, yo, man, bro, I'm assuming this light is no, but they don't have a clue because they're not privy to this information. So I'm starting to share that, and as I'm sharing it, I'm getting like a bit moog of sharing it at everybody. And so that's the first time I put together like a manual almost that's called What is Hip Hop.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
So from that, what's the name is like, how do you supply people with information? How do you teach them when you're not there? Right, that's the other thing that came out of that. And then when you teach them, what's next? Like, are they just going to jam there by the library, or are you going to put together like something? Right, so Battle of the Year like came out of that. Like, how do I? Wasn't Battle of the Year first? It was African Battle Cry. It's like, how do I supply a space where Owens can rap and can see the whole culture? It's like there by the Geelsaal and that spot there in Kraaifontein. And so, like for me, it's like all of the stuff. The healing that happened was for me to manifest my teaching ability. And I didn't even think about it. I didn't think of it like that. I didn't think that me teaching like this had to do with my like being called to teach. But I wasn't called to teach like
the conventional way.
Yeah, since I didn't know that, right? Until I was given that space to be like, okay, let me show some people who moves to Owens, and then bring other owners to teach, and then teach them how to teach, and then for it to like expand the way it did. And then also the other elements of the culture just followed wherever we created the space. I mean, you think about back then, like graffiti artists would all come and do the wall around the Geelsaal, and then the MCs would come and grab the mic and do performances. And the slice for me, like from back in the day, was that we weren't able to share the knowledge of self and the practicality of the knowledge of self. Like, how do you internalize that knowledge of self? Because the truth is that we need healing. Like we are hurt people. Like hurt people, right? And so with time, that showed its ugly head. Like people were, instead of just battling and like being okay, nah, cool, I didn't win. It's like, yeah, julle bly ons, by julle roep vir ons, julle sê, wie's julle om vir ons te judge, julle is ou ballies. Like all that hurt was like bubble to the top, And so for me, it's like, and you can't force knowledge yourself onto public, man. Because they came there for breaking. They didn't come there for knowledge yourself, right? And so that was for me, that was the one thing I wished we'd done different. Like to find a way that we could share that knowledge that would like be internalized. And like with time, like I would like figure out with like mixed mensa, I had to do that in a way that is like almost a school. And you're not promising anything, right? Because I think that's the first thing. Like people assume that you if you tell them, check, you learn this, like, wat gaat ek kry as ek hy gaat leer? So now you do it in a way where like, nah, kijk, you see lyrics, rework it, like we did with Princess. And even the first one, like, what was the eerste one? Ek leer vir jou.
Ek leer vir jou, ja.
So from the very first song was how do you create something that they can write? Because they weren't ones that really spoke in public. So now I'm asking them to grab a mic. Except for Charlie. Charlie, between Stefan and Leroy. Like, I brought you, like very quiet. But because when I hung with them, I knew they had like hectic things that they were thinking about. And I was like, how do you get them to bring this out into the form? Like, I remember, where was it? UWC. With the hip-hop lecture series. Yeah. And so someone asked me a question and I was about to answer and to skree hulle van agter af, Emile, ons kan mos vir osself praat. That was my bro. That was more like graduation and I was like, finally, my bro. Praat vir julle self.
But Leroy hy's weer, hy blom weer as hy op stage is, né?
Oh,
he's got a very vibrant personality. That's why he's called Malice.
Bro. And that's power. Like, and yeah, for real. And for me, it's like that's one of the things also that I like from that, because for me it was like when you teach, you the teacher. But in hip hop, I was the teacher and the student with the interaction with them, because I was learning about like their experiences in Lavendale. They have their doctorate in living in Lavendale. Like I can't speak on that. You know what I'm saying? So like I remember when we were in the States. And Malice came to Malice but yeah, mostly Malice, he came and he said, Emile, kos het die ou hier op die straat, man. And I was like, what means he? It was like a war veteran or something, was outside Whole Foods that day when we went. So
in DC?
Yeah, in DC. And so I was like, hoe means dat nou? Sê, nee, dis verkeerd, my bro, man. In 11 deel oor sal nooit laat mense buite slaap, my bro. Kijk, I stood there, I became teary-eyed, my bro. I was like, what people say about Lavendale, nah? And what this brother just said, nah, that shit is so profound, man, bro. Because I've never seen anybody sleep outside in Lavendale.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So you get what I'm
I'm
saying? I was like, I just stood there, I said, alles die is deep, man, bro.
Hulle stel paving, ja, maar hulle laat niemand buite.
Oh, come on, Fingaz.
So for me, like that's the biggest, with them was the lesson of like how to internalize, how to not only internalize the lessons that we were learning, but for them to be the teachers then to pass it on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and again, like First Nation people, like the elder teaches and learns, and then you open the way, you get out of the way. And like, I mean, I think the fact that I like gooi to the US was necessary for Hildewood to be able to just work without me there. You know what I mean? And that for me is like, that's like one of the other lessons is that you don't always have to be in charge or like pushing or, you know, because when you push, and I learned this with Black Noise as well, it's your vision, man. And the other ones don't necessarily have that. They might say yes. Just to avoid confrontation, they say, yeah, okay, Emile. Now you assume they agree, but they don't really want to do it. So you end up doing it yourself anyway. Which is dangerous because then you take people on a journey they don't really want to be on. You know, they go along because they're going to get paid or whatever, but it's not really their passion, you know. And so I think with this, with being not being here, I could see things unfold, and I wasn't attached to it. It was like, it needs to unfold in that way, you know. And you don't want like tell like Shaq, nah man, keep that, but I don't let him go. Let him, you know, he has to go. Like even Charlie, when Charlie gooide, I was like, yeah, Charlie, man, bro. And then not long after that, he came back and he was like, yo, Emile, bro, wat jy gesê het, hoe het is aan die workplace.
Stronger actually, no?
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So since now that is, and if I kept him, he wouldn't have learned that lesson. You check what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing we need to. And my hope was that when I walked away from the b-boy scene, that would happen. I'm still hoping, still hopeful, man, bro, because it's a powerful. I mean, for me, b-boys they think, and then they manifest thought. They don't need to talk, and so they're a powerful group of people, more so than MCs, because they could manifest change. You get what I'm saying? Whereas like MCs, they can talk, but they don't need to put into action what they said. It's just like, nah, it's a rhyme. It's not real. Don't have to do this. You know what I mean? So anyways, I was hoping that would like materialize. But yeah, and then 2024 is around the corner, and yes, it's the Olympics and all of that.
Oh,
2026 Junior Olympics, Youth Olympic Games.
Kan jy vraag? Kan ek nog een vraag?
Kan ik gewoon iets vragen? Emile, I'm disappointed, man.
Ja, hoe dan nou weer?
Oh, yeah.
Nee, man, that song with Youngster and Ready D, man.
I was gonna... Dude, stop stealing my shit, man. Ik is nogal disappointed.
Dude, like, yeah.
Okay, wat jy my gesê het, ne? Your critique, I can understand. But coming from the 90s, I could see what Youngster tried to do. And I think he did actually achieve it because I felt some type of way. Okay, am I jumping again? Okay,
this is interesting.
Youngster will, obviously, hy wil mos nou die OG's, they gave them the respect. Hy is, kan ek maar sê, kritiek sê? Sy kritiek is, deze lyrics is offbeat, but ons ken, as in 90s, is ons ken vir deze die man. And I was glad that the D went that way. DJ Explode, the Black Battle Cat. So I'm glad dat hy energy weer teruggebring weer man. En wat hy sê, is het necessary wat die nieuwe Ready D doen nie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he does it now, soos ek gesê het, hy doen it in the 90s en net soos het nou, unapologetically. Hy doen het meer covertly. Hy does it. Ek het nou dan is ook gesê in die Kanye West interview, wat hy sê, Common enter the scene without people knowing he does it. Jay-Z does it as well. Maar Kanye West is weer...
It's out there.
Fuck that, I just want to say whatever I want to say. So I get his lyrics and I
don't have a problem issue with the lyrics, man. I have an issue with the production itself, man. Like,
yeah, because he is
no, man. Like, nah, man. They could have done way better, man. Like,
the thing is that...
I'm gonna worry, man.
Yeah. And for me, it's also like when he told me what, I didn't expect anything. I was like, yo, okay, nice opportunity, just drop a verse. Right? Yeah. And because I know already from previous collabs that you have no control in the final, like the outcome of the track, right? And also that for me, I'm a Moose POC fan, so just being on the same track with these, I was like, yo, duidelijk, bro, I couldn't care less. So all of those things, and then also, like, I can say, there are people from back then that needed to see D and me on the same track. It is heavy important. You see what I'm saying? So, like, I don't really, like, once it was done.
I don't really care about it.
Once the track was done, and I heard the track, I was like, yo, you know, there's so much more we could have done if we maybe collab together and, like, you know, we had time to dissect it.
Yeah, and
actually, was it gebeur ook COVID?
It happened like, I mean, I was there in the US, and so I just, like, he sent me the beat, and I wrote and rewrote, and then I was like, sent it to them, and I was like, because ik heb nog veel gevraagd, hoe moet ik het,
die flow.
None of the flow, the thing is...
Export the WAV file.
Yeah, the WAV file, ik moest ik een tekst in, zoals beste vrienden. But But then when because I didn't hear these stuff until it was done, you know. And he sent a verse that I thought was just a rough, but he used the same verse in the end. But I almost feel like, you know, for me it's always like, how much can you say in that short?
Yeah, 16 bars.
You know what I mean? How can you dissect it? And also, I didn't want to repeat what D was saying, and I didn't want to repeat what he was saying. Which is when you're in the same space, then you can do that. You know, so I wasn't expecting like.
They repeat everything I say.
I knew that he was going to say that. When I heard the track, I knew what he.
Hij verleden ik complain. Ik wil hem eigenlijk kapimpen tegen zijn mensen. Maar wat de praat zeggen.
Hij is nog
Hij heeft
niks.
zelf op iemand bastard.
But check you don't make music for the commercial market. Even though like Black Noise has had commercial success locally and internationally, your solo project as Emile YX speaks to heritage, healing, and exposing the corrupt capitalist agenda. Has this hampered you in any way? Being so outspoken.
You want to say something wrong against the status quo? Well, not wrong. Wrong in their mind. Then you marked for life. Like you can't get out of it. You can't tomorrow say, nah,
I was joking.
I'm just kidding. It doesn't work like that. Especially in Cape Town. I think people don't realize that. But the money people here in Cape Town, they don't forgive me, bro. You know, they now. But I'm speaking especially in like industry side of it. You know, and I think it's linked to Joburg and the rest of the world as well. Like because they have access to your material. Once they see that you're speaking, exposing them and what they're doing, then chances are like you won't be able to like really enter that realm or that market. Which for me it's okay, because it's not like I write songs for the flimsiness of getting it played on radio. You know what I mean? And also like I don't care. Like if like I put out albums where people don't even know. Like asked me some questions yesterday on a Instagram thing. And he was like, yo, you got like 10 albums with Black Noise and 9 with solo. I was like, actually, it's 13 of both, my brother. And so he was like, yo. And like the only reason why there isn't more was because I haven't been here and I've been away from Charlie to like just record the rest, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like not like for me, like albums have passed that people don't even know, but I needed to say that at that moment in time, right? Like I'm like give you an example with like this Kola to Sing. Like the real fun hip hop, they gave us these beats, right? I thought the beats were cleared. Like I was convinced that we could just use it. So I sampled a piece from this song, from that family. It's a family naam now, yeah. But Club family, right? And so the video was done, the song was done. My bro, online people have started, the family, like wie het vir julle toestemming gegee om die. My bro, I was so embarrassed, but at the same time I also looked at it and like I actually want to know who the family is. And the song is I said, check here, I don't want to take anything from your family. You register the song. Even though I wrote the verse and they redid the beat, it's your song. Wow. Like I won't take a cent from the song because I assumed that they cleared it with you guys, right? And they didn't. So I land back after that. After I've been like, because I was in the US when that whole thing happened, I was like, yo, maybe I'm far away, I can't even go speak to them. I land, I drive down to this family. It's Silversam.
Yeah, I Sunday lunch.
Brother, it is like, for me, like all of these things, like writing a song has a life, man. It's not just I'm writing a song. Like for me, this song I was meant to meet this family. I was meant to drive out to the family and go and like sit and listen to the family story and learn. You get what I'm saying? So all of those albums have that on it. Like the song with the Raw Young Lions, Raw with Colleen and the family. Like I actually sat there with the family of Colleen and Robbie and speaking about like their children. And so when I put the song together, like that memory was like, I need to tell the story because it's important to be told. You know what I mean? And these things find you, man. Like I must tell you the horse example. I'm on stage. They asked me in Sweden, can you speak about? Because now I'm the only one in the crew that like lived through the apartheid situation, right? So I'm on stage, and now we are, man. We don't. We laugh at the most horrendous shit, man.
Yeah.
Things like that.
It seems to me, but I'm like, yeah. And then the Owens were like diving under the bed, and like this one fuck in the corner was like saying, shh. I'm saying, oh, you big man, bro. And the military is walking past the window, and there's no ham, man. I was like, bro, man, plus now my heart's pounding against the wooden floor. So all that's in this rhyme, that butterflies fly by.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm telling the story on stage, and Lighty start crying, bro, in the audience. And the teacher come up to me and she said, excuse me, can you stop? Can you stop? So I asked her, what did I do? She said, nah, because they've been with us for like a week. So the fact that I just said that someone shot at me,
Yo.
they were like in tears, bro. Like, how can they, so like it challenged me and my, like the value that we attach to life, man. Like, we're very flimsy about that, right? And like here, these lighties are very like emotional about like, because they're not exposed to that type of life, right? So I was like, so I went back to so I wrote down the story. I was like, let me write the story down, because like, but until that day, I never before that I never rehashed that, never like examined that day. Like, they forced me to examine that day on that stage. So when I wrote it down to because it's traumatic. Like, you were 17-year-old Lighty, and they pointing this gun at you, and like if they pulled that trigger, I'd have been frick, I'd have been gone, right? At Weinberg High. That's the day where the Weinberg 7 were taken, right? So I'm like, so I wrote the song, put out Butterflies, get like somebody to sing the chorus. First I sang it. so they said, let's get this country, sing this for the chorus. And I did look, song develops, I put it out. Tanzel, this tiny do a story of Black Noise. Was it the 30th anniversary or something? 20th or 30th anniversary of Black Noise, right? So she does a video. She has all our tapes. She sent the box back. I go through the tape. Ze weet dus oors man. Hier is dat tape. Dis die oorse tape man. Ze gaan dit niet terug hier nie. So hier is de kyk wat op die tape is. Ze
weet nooit.
Ze weet nooit hier.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do.
Private.
Hy tape kan vir julle ander show gebruik geword het.
Waar is hy download?
As ek die tape kyk, maar ek sê, die tape, my bro, the tape is of that day, my bro. That very day. I'm like,
BBC footage, eh?
Yeah. I'm like, wait, how is this possible even, my bro? I phone her as soon as I see the footage. I say, check here, like, Beverly, is this your tape that you left in the box? She's saying, I have no idea what you're talking about. Kijk, I sit there, I'm like, this is...
Oh, is that like divine intervention?
This is heavy, my bro. So I asked Tanzel, just overlay this tape over the song. Put it up. Like, I'm not even in the video at all. Like, it's just the footage, right? Slowly, like, people start, like, watching it, liking it. Slowly. I look at the comments, my bro. Yeah, Emile, I was there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. People share it with people in Australia, people in England, people all over. Nah, I can't get the smell of tear gas out of my memory, the pain of what we went through. Kid right back. Yeah, my daddy said he was at this event. I had no idea colored people were involved in the struggle. I sit there and I check. This is on a level. There's like, I think, more than 500,000 views or something on that thing. Because of people just like, there's no other reference to that day that they can find anywhere. And so they almost feel like it's like ghost of your past. Yeah. That you just can't remember exactly. So when people wrote what they felt, I was like, yeah, bro. And I felt obligated to write back, man. To every time someone comments, I'm like, and thank you for your contribution, and you helped bring about what we wanted to see for better South Africa. Then like people like, it isn't really a better, but it's needed that they vent, right? And that like the light is see that their parents were telling the truth. Because the other thing is like a lot of colored parents don't want to speak to their children about that trauma. They want their lighty to just go through a Model C school and not be confronted with the racial problems of the past. And when that thing is there available, the mense, like they mail me, then they mail me, can you send me a copy? To the extent that I put it on like the, what's it called? The docs, Google Docs, where they can just like tag in and like download a copy of it, Because that, like I was saying, the song is a life of its own. Man.
Yeah.
And like the whole, like I'm telling you a whole story about like
So
how
it's
that song was
not just
born.
the sonics of the song. It's actually the history of how you got to the
Exactly.
And compare that to just having the song on the radio.
Yeah, can't compare to that, man, bro.
Brilliant, brilliant.
I mean, there were songs like the song that had substance in black music is called A Day After, about like exactly what we're going through, climate change, right? This is like pre the conversation, climate change. And like, what's her name? I remember when we wrote that song, Molly was talking about a relationship. He's like, I think of you. And so, and he actually sang it to a friend of ours, Natasha Cross, when she left the country. She's now living in the States. And then I was like, what if I write a verse, but about how I'd feel if this planet doesn't exist anymore, like if after the destruction, like the day after, that's what the song's name became. We play that when they played that song on the radio. The song made it #1 on what's the name on Metro FM back in the day. And it was a dope song, but like an unexpected type of vibe. It's not like it's a Joel number.
Yeah, it was like a very...
Or like dance in the party.
When the old fuel
Get on
tennis...
your horse and ride out of town. Molly said.
I think sometimes we think that with that radio listener is that robots, but there's people that feel that want to have a engagement with the song,
Yeah,
and not
exactly.
just on a. Say favorite politician actually waited till you're back, and then he decided to die. He waited for you to come back, and then he decided, it's time, guys. I need to go.
It's time.
Your favorite.
Say favorite though.
Poor Emile weer van mij attack weer.
I posters with he's van
Classic.
How do you feel about this passing, dude?
Yo, man, I was telling somebody that like have you seen the documentary of Bell Pottinger? It's a marketing company that marketed the illusion of a rainbow nation into effect. It's like they were paid by the government to market that on the global platform. I mean, Cambridge Analytica did the same with our '94 election. They marketed this idea of like this rainbow and all of the positivity. If you think of the media, why would they do that? Like, what would what's the agenda? Because normally they're talking about what's wrong, right? Until that point, until the election, it was all like downhill and like, oh my God, this country is never gonna, and then like suddenly, So anyway, attached to what I just said now, like the whole FW is a fabrication. Like now on the 17th of November, Anton Franz's murder, we'll celebrate 1989 when they murdered him on the 7th of November, 1989, And he was the commander-in-chief. He was the one that sent them out to do that. So he's responsible for Anton and for Ashley and for Colleen and like thousands of other people. And he had the chance, bro. He had a chance all along to say where the graves are of these people. Exactly. So I don't I don't hold a grudge. I just can't lie like the lie that is happening now. Like
you say you don't know. How do you get to that point where you say you have a song where you're at gunpoint and the guy that's after the opposite and you don't have a grudge? Like, how do you get to that? Because a lot of people, I personally don't, but because by younger weer, so it's easier for me to get to that point. So how does somebody from your generation get to? Want sy kry nog baie wat nog ouens nog baie haat, man. How do you get there? How do you get there though?
Because like people are pawns, man. Like, I mean, he had a look. You got ultimately they got to go back to the big love, right? They got to be part of the big call, the big calling to be for reckoning with our ancestors, right? And they stay me from what we've flown for, but these ancestors was hulle phone at your sak uit. But like, so for me, it's like it's not him. Like most politicians, they are puppets to the capital, like the money. Like the money is what changed South Africa. The money had a meeting with Mandela. The money brought FW, and they staged the whole thing the way it. I mean, why will that man win an award with Nobel Peace Prize after being
like giving it to Hitler?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they did actually nominate Hitler at one stage for that prize. So for me, it's like, how do you, like, I see beyond that, like him, like he's just a puppet in the bigger agenda, and that same money is like obviously still pulling strings, And so for me, it's like also like why there was the killing of Chris Hani, because they needed to put into effect that agenda of theirs, the money's agenda.
Yeah.
You know, so
He was communist, huh?
well, he was. I mean, he was like more like, I think that's what the mistake is, that like communism and socialism, or the way that like you're concerned for your community or your society, communism, your community, your society, your social responsibility, socialism. That's all it is. It's our version of what they thinking we're talking about when they're thinking of like Stalin or ever, or the Russian idea of these concepts. You know what I mean? And so for me, it's like he was concerned with his community, same way that Winnie was, because they were on the ground, man. So they wanted to see that the people shouldn't be going through what we're going through now. We're still going through the results of apartheid, you know, and all we got is a vote. That's all we got out of the deal, nothing else.
I read somebody said we voted. We didn't fight for the freedom of movement, because that's what we got actually.
Yeah,
the people that died, they died for the economical freedom. You know,
they
didn't get it.
They also died for the eradication of the illusion of race and the divides that attach to that illusion. So if you speak to Neville Alexander back in the day, he'd say he refused. Like Mandela approached Neville Alexander and asked him, "Can you please rally the colored people?" And he said, "What? You know better than to ask me that. Like there is no colored people, there is no black people, they're only South Africans." And they just couldn't get that. If they got that right, then this would have been a completely different country.
And the need for parties who see because they are birthed
on that point.
They are birthed from that struggle. You know?
Wat dink Emile van die political party called the CCC and so forth?
You know, when I see what I mean, I spoke to Fadil. You know, I reached out to him and I asked him, like, you know, I understand why he wants to do what he's doing, because everyone else is doing that. Everyone. The ANC is racist in their approach. The DA is racist in their approach. The Freedom Front is racist in their approach. They are selling the illusion that they're not, but they are racist. So I can see why Fadil has the concern of our community at heart. And so I don't knock Fadil for what he's trying to do. Because unfortunately, when you're confronted with racism, the only solution within that is to try and solve the problem for your community, because they aren't going to help you. You know what I mean? They might say they're going to, but they're not going to. And in the bigger scheme of things, they're also not really caring about black or white or anyone else. They're actually just caring for their brasa.
Yeah.
You know, the money people are giving the political people money so they could so they could keep the money people happy. It's not about the people. You know what I'm saying? So like we all of these political parties are pushing an agenda that got nothing to do with the solution. You know what I mean? And like Fadil is actually trying to help where he lives. And that is, and when I spoke to him, I said, I understand completely what you're trying to do, remember? And I understand what they're going to do. They're going to make you seem like you're the most racist person, when in actual fact, everybody in this country born into like racism have racist intention. The system is set up in a racist manner. I mean, the fact that like this morning I went to walk with Tamsil, them at Fishhook, and like mostly white people there. You know what I'm saying? And like none of them greeted me. And you know, because they in their mind they don't just see another South African, they see a colored bra with hair like mine and all of the stereotypes that the media has enforced on their mind, which is racist. So their view of me is a racist view. You know, so I mean, I understand. I don't agree that that's the solution. But what is the solution when everybody else is also doing that? They just better at the illusion, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I saw an interview with him, and the guy asked him, "What are you gonna do when the political party gets bigger? How are you gonna appeal to everybody?" He says, "I have no need to appeal for everybody.
Yeah.
My job is just for my people, and that's what it's not."
Exactly.
I fucking admire that, man.
That is. I mean, the Nation of Islam did the same thing. Like the Black Panther movement, they did the same thing. Because they realized that the status quo doesn't care about them. So they need to care about themselves. You know, and I hope, I mean, I saw, what's the name? I don't know if he won, but Dwayne from Dream Team.
Yeah. Yeah, he won.
He won?
We got him in there.
Oh,
We
nice.
had him in.
Because
Really nice
again, like,
podcast.
of all the people that in the Western Cape, Dwayne was doing stuff all the time. Like whenever I was looking at a post, it's like he's doing something for the community.
Yeah.
Everyone else is talking about what's wrong.
Yeah.
This bra is showing you with action. And for me, like, that's why you vote for somebody. You don't vote for somebody because they promise you. You vote for somebody because they're actually doing the stuff that they said they were going to do.
They have a track record of
You know what
doing
I'm
stuff.
saying?
And
So,
both of them was nogal influenced through hip-hop, no? Vader himself.
is it?
Ja, hy het gesê, op die podcast sê, Black Noise het vir hom, nie Black Noise,
POC.
Nee, Public Enemy
Oh, okay.
het vir hom gelijk, dat ook wakker skrik. Dat is a fucking smart man. Is clever.
I mean, I think the only downfall, like, from what I've seen, is like how what he says is being edited for their benefit. You know what I mean? Because and I mean, we are passionate people, man. So we get hurtful, and then they use it against us.
Yeah.
Like we didn't go to school where we have like a debate society. So they separate the emotion from the debate. We can't because we're living it. We see the anti-struggling, so we're going to sound like angry because we're angry. My others like, oh, you know, they removed because it's not real to them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I was like, yeah, brother, I hope you win as much support as possible, man, bro. Because it is what it is right now, man, bro. Unfortunately, you know. That answer your question.
Away.
Was dat lang?
So, there's a few more questions.
Go with it.
A lot of your previous and current work comes as a result of pen pals you created in the 80s by writing to people internationally. Tell us about when you actually found out like the impacts that some of it had.
Yeah. It's my started at the beginning of that already. Like I'd phone Shaheen when they're on tour. And Shaheen, my bro, die mense ken allemaal vir jou hier in Europe, my bro. Because by then I'd send copies of the Juice Mag to people. Like when obviously via the letter and like all of the graph owens. And so it was almost instant. People knew that there was POC and others. Like they'd go to a POC show because they knew that like they've written to a man and they, and then they like after they've written to him, they've seen the show. Now they like try to meet with D and tell them that they've connected with Cape Town. So like that was some of the like I remember writing to Thomas from Battle of the Year, and like he was open to like by the time I wrote him, he had already spoken to Ramon, and so I reached out to Ramon. I was like, "My bro, this is a dope opportunity for this." So Ramon was like, "Nah, we got it covered. We got the sponsors. It's all right. Don't worry, Emile." So that year didn't happen. And so I contacted him again. I said, check your, but POC was busy, maybe. I can completely understand, like, trying to pull that off. So I said, check, I really want to get, to attend the events. I can see, like, if we send lighties, what it will be like. So he's like, yeah, don't use, Black Noise break, right? I was like, bro, we old already, bro. They were like, nah, let's just come do a show. So the intention was to just go do a show. This 97, right? But we prepared something just in case, man. So we get there, like some enemies called me, bro. Yo, I'm blown away by the level of like power moves and stuff, man. It's like, yeah, me, bro. We arguing, should we participate or should we just, do the show in Kapan, like as Black Noise? We do the show because we prepared a performance. Take our clothes, we go sit in the audience, we're like gonna watch the final battles, and battle for third. From South Africa. Did he say South Africa? My bro, wacht, trek julle skoene aan, ons gaat battle hier, my bro. So that was the direct result of actually writing to Thomas, So, and there we won third. And again, like, before we gooid, we didn't have the money. So I applied for what Winnie Mandela was still in charge of, then it was called like Arts, Culture, Science and Technology or something. So she organized like the bucks for the flight. Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, remember. Props to Winnie Mandela, man. She rest in peace. And so, but then they couldn't forward the money in time because there's all the paperwork and stuff. So making music like fronted the money. They're like, yo, we'll give you the money for the flights. So I organized all of that. Also, Battle of the Year. So anyway, so we won third. And then because when ek op die flight, member, to lease ek nou die contract, man, some arts and culture, man. Nou sê jy daar, kyk, this is taxpayers' money, you got to put back. And for me, it's like, if I sign a contract, this is serious, man. It's not like, you know what I mean, this is the taxpayers' money. Came back, man, it's just bizar, man, bro. teaching, because now you want to share that other people can also have the chance to go to Battle of the Year. So that was direct, like you asked about the question. So that was writing, and then the other one was Polski, like from Rockforce crew. I mean, it's like one of the stories that I didn't think about back then, man. Like he wrote to me, and he asked me like, what we doing? And I wrote back and said, we're doing workshops, we're teaching like this, so the culture can grow. And I didn't still think much about it. My bro, that scene in the Bay, like Rockforce and the blow up of b-boying in the Bay is directly related to that letter, because nobody was teaching each other. So when when I was back then again, like because I kept the letters, man, so I sent him the copy. So he wrote to me, he's like, do you know that because of what you shared, this is why the scene blew up in this area? And that's just a letter, man, and again, we in South Africa don't think that we in any way ahead of anyone else. In the meantime, we were way ahead because of I come from a teaching background, so let's teach. And even here, ouens were like, nah, Emile, op die mense leer, they maak het swaar vir ons. Ouens were upset with me when we were teaching, because they wanted to maintain just to be the only ones to get that job, man. So it was a bit weird that you get this props from that side, and here locally you're like, nah, you moet die mense leer.
I mean, hip hop was always founded on the principle of each one teach one, but it's somewhere along the line, it's all the ones that went overseas, whatever, didn't come back and teach. Because if they had to do that,
we'd have been way ahead. We were the first ones to take youngsters. I mean, think of Denzel. We were the first ones to take like these who were young to Battle of the Year. Now there's the Olympics. We should have been way ahead of everybody else. But instead, we way behind, bro. So yeah, so it's sad, because it's I think also we don't believe in ourselves enough, If we had to believe in ourselves, we'd have been so much further. And you can see it at Battle of the Year, man. Always be like, yeah, nah. They almost they're coming to big up everybody else but themselves. They're not there to win. You need to actually put yourself in that mentality. When we battled in '97, I saw how the battle, how the crew was that we were going to battle. So I played it like a game of chess. I told kyk, moenie ingaan, moenie gaan power move. I had to stop them all the time, because as soon as we power move, they would bring this arsenal of power moves that they were. So if you watch the battle, you see it was we were working on their nerves. We came out with footwork, it was all style, and until right at the end, then we gooed. By that time they were already tired. They were not tired, but they were upset, man. So they weren't gonna, you know what I mean? They were but the strategy, man.
That's it.
You get what I'm saying? You how do you play this, Owens? You know what they got. And I mean, nowadays, you can check online what people have, man, bro. So you should be able to strategize your battle, right? So yeah, so I mean, that's, anyway, I don't know how we got to that point, but.
Ready to rumble?
Ik ga die video spelen als outro na. Jullie mijn muziek.
Heb je nog politics gepraat, Mas, man?
Dat is altijd op part 2.
So, Mr. Southgate?
Always, from the Babbling Heads, I'd like to thank Emile for his time and for dropping the knowledge and the history.
He's not one of my favorite. He's not one of my favorite.
Hij was nog tiring of ik voel ze maar 53.
Ampera.
Thanks for doing this, Emile. Really do appreciate it. Was it nog professors, was it nog teachers, icons, OGs?
Was het alles?
This is quite.
Was dat nou binnenkort OG's ook en dingen?
Saya buka alleen maar, kom maar, dat is hier als een man wat hier zo aan gaat.
Hij man slaapt op je vloer. Zodra die live gaan slapen, man op je
vloer.
Dat is live heel tijd al.
Is het? Ja. Zij is vanaan slaapt, zij op je grond, meneer.
Dat is dit voor jou. Trek je nou maar keer.
Laat ons sang sprang, wanneer anak kring aan, hierdie we gaan, wanneer ons springen. Laat ons sang sprang, wanneer anak kring aan, hierdie we gaan, wanneer ons springen. Laat ons sang sprang, wanneer anak kring aan, hierdie we gaan, wanneer ons springen. Laat ons sang sprang, wanneer anak kring aan, hierdie we gaan, wanneer ons springen. Toen ek eers in die kring spring, was die kennis baie min. Het was net 'n lekker ding wat som gedoen het vir 'n kind. Ou vriend die herinnering van binne in 'n kring spring, kom van 'n tyd toe die transdans begin. Eerste mense, eerste dans om tussen werelde te transans om my virus af 'n healing weer 'n kans. Dan staat die storie wat die plig haar kon deel. Die real storie noem laat die ancients omveel. For real of for real, as jy dans moet jy feel. En kosse as ek food for thought, Emile. En deel met die feit dat Afrika eerste was. Alle mense kom van hy Afrikaanse ras. En mas moet ons weer leer om saam te sing. Om mense saam te bring sodat geneesing begin. In hierdie eerste kring het ek myself gevind. Die kind van die wind is so aan Boesman gebind. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Nou laat ons weer sing net soos in die eerste kring. Hier die jy begin laat geloof weer win en glo. Net soos ons is ons te doen. Net soos dit onder is, so is dit ook kaboe. Die potjie word geroer in die sirkel my broer. Ons sing en dans is net stof wat roe. Sy loe, maar in die kring spring moet gebeur. Na die eerste keer wil sy net weer en weer. Transdans is soos om met God te wies. Kies om te wies wat nie gelees deur die gies. Vir jou om te onthou om jou siel op te bou. Hoe die toekoms en verlede oor mekaar nou vou. Hoe die energie bou deur die gees hoog te hou. Tot die klimaks waar die ou na die grond toe val flou. Genesing word 'n jasing en hy is genees. Die riel bou gees om met ons voorvaders te wees. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die riel begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die riel begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die riel begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die riel begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Die gesingery word 'n loop, die original doep doep. Die energy van die cirkel is jou voorvaders wat roep. Die kliga is die MC wat die healing kon bring. Die danse is die vuur in die middel van die kring. Die storie was geskryf op en in die rots. Soos graffiti wat daagliks met die regering bots. Ek's trots op hiphop oorspronklik van Afrika. My B&B boy is vir Boesman en ek's trots op haar. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in. Kom laat ons sing, spring binne in 'n kring in. Hier die reël begin, gaan woon ons spring in.
The Babbling Heads podcast.